You want real success? Then you have to stop procrastinating, period. Let's be real. Procrastination isn't about being lazy. It's not a personality flaw. It's not something you were born with and doomed to carry your whole life. It's a habit. And more importantly, it's a habit rooted in something much deeper than I just don't feel like it. It's about fear, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of starting and not being good enough. And the thing about fear is, it's sneaky. It disguises itself as rational excuses. I work better under pressure. I just need to do a little more research. Now's not the right time. Sound familiar? When you procrastinate, you're not avoiding the task. You're avoiding the emotions that come with the task. You're avoiding the self-doubt, the uncertainty, the possibility that you might fall short. And listen, that's totally human. But if you let that fear dictate your actions or your inactions, you will never reach the success you're capable of, because success doesn't come from thinking. It doesn't come from planning or waiting for the perfect moment. It comes from action, and procrastination is the opposite of that. Every time you say, "I'll do it later," what you're really saying is, "I'm not ready to deal with how this makes me feel right now." And that creates a cycle. You put things off, feel guilty, start beating yourself up, and then feel even less motivated to take action. And around you go. That's not laziness. That's a fear-based loop. And the only way to break it is to start recognizing procrastination for what it really is: emotional avoidance. Now let's talk science for a second. Your brain is wired to avoid pain and seek comfort. That's why checking your phone, watching Netflix, or organizing your desk suddenly becomes so important when you're facing a challenging task. Those activities give you a quick hit of dopamine. They feel good. They're easy. But the thing you're avoiding, the hard conversation, the tough decision, the uncomfortable project, that's the thing that actually leads to growth. That's the thing that builds the life you want. But your brain doesn't prioritize long-term rewards. It wants immediate relief. And that's what procrastination gives it. Here's where the 5-second rule comes in. You've got a 5-second window between the moment you have an instinct to act and the moment your brain talks you out of it. You think, "I should work on my resume." 5 seconds later, your brain says, "It's too late today. Do it tomorrow." That window, that's where the power is. If you act within those 5 seconds, stand up, open your laptop, start typing, you interrupt the pattern. You stop procrastination in its tracks. And that tiny action, repeated over time, builds momentum. It builds confidence. It builds results. You don't need motivation. You need movement. Motivation is unreliable. It shows up when it wants. But action, that's a choice. And every time you choose to take even one small step, you build evidence that you are capable. You prove to yourself that fear doesn't have the final say. And the truth is, the first step is always the hardest. But once you take it, your brain shifts. It starts to focus. You get a little traction. And suddenly, what felt overwhelming becomes manageable. Let me tell you something. Nobody is coming to rescue you from your own avoidance. Nobody is going to knock on your door and force you to write that book, launch that business, make that change. That's on you. And you are absolutely capable of doing it, but only if you stop giving your fear the steering wheel. So if you're serious about success, stop waiting, stop rationalizing, stop numbing your fear with distractions, start moving. Even if you're scared, even if you're unsure, especially if you're uncomfortable, because the path to success is paved with tiny acts of courage, not grand moments of motivation. Stop procrastinating and start showing up for your future. It's not about feeling ready. It's about being willing to act anyway. Comparison is a silent killer of success, and it's one of the most toxic habits we pick up without even realizing it. You wake up in the morning, open your phone, and there it is. Someone's perfect life staring you in the face. They're fitter than you, richer than you, more successful, more confident, more everything. And before you've even had your coffee, you feel behind. You feel inadequate. You feel like you're losing a race you didn't even know you were running. But here's the truth. You're not behind. You're distracted. Comparison doesn't motivate you. It paralyzes you. It takes your focus off your own goals and places it squarely on someone else's highlight reel. You start measuring your progress by their results. You question your worth because of their win. And slowly but surely, your confidence takes a hit. You hesitate to start your own thing because you think it's already been done better. You stay quiet because you assume someone else knows more. You delay your dreams because you believe someone else is already living them and doing it better than you ever could. But here's what nobody tells you. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's front stage. You're seeing the filtered version, the polished version, the version they chose to share. You're not seeing the self-doubt they feel. You're not seeing the hours of failure, the years of effort, the anxiety they carry. You're only seeing the result, not the road. And when you compare your journey to that, it will always feel like you're not enough. Not because you're actually not enough, but because you've placed yourself in a rigged game you can't win. Let me make something clear. Their success is not your failure. Someone else achieving something doesn't mean you can't. There is no finish line in life. This isn't a competition. There's no trophy for who builds the best business fastest, who gets the most followers, who buys the nicest car. Life is not about beating other people. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. That's the only race that matters, and you're running it with one person, you. Every time you compare yourself to others, you take your eyes off your own path. You waste time and energy analyzing someone else's life instead of building your own. You feed your insecurity instead of your ambition. And that's a choice. Because while you can't always stop those thoughts from popping into your head, you can choose not to entertain them. You can choose to catch yourself in the act and redirect your focus back to your own growth. If you want real success, you have to stop looking sideways. Stay in your lane. Water your own grass. Use other people's achievements as inspiration, not ammunition against yourself. If they did it, great. Proof it's possible. Now get back to work. You don't need to copy them. You don't need to beat them. You need to be you fully, authentically, relentlessly. That's where your power is. Think about this. When you're fully focused on your own progress, comparison loses its grip. When you're locked into your purpose, your goals, your values, what someone else is doing doesn't matter as much. You're not distracted, you're driven. And that's how real success is built. Not by obsessing over how fast someone else is running, but by taking one step forward every single day in your own direction. You have gifts they don't have. You have a story they can't tell. You have ideas that only you can bring into this world. And if you waste your time trying to be them, the world misses out on what only you can offer. That's not just a loss for you, it's a loss for all of us. So stop scrolling, stop comparing, stop shrinking yourself because someone else is shining. Their light doesn't dim yours. In fact, it should remind you that success is available to everyone who shows up for it, including you. But you won't get there if you're too busy watching someone else live your dream. Take that energy, turn it inward, and do the work, because your journey, it's worth your full attention. Your growth, it's worth protecting. And your future, it's not a competition. It's a masterpiece in progress. Yours. Negative self-talk is one of the most damaging habits you can have if you want real success. It's that inner voice that whispers, "You're not good enough? Why even try? Or you'll probably mess it up anyway." And here's the thing. Most of us don't even realize how often we're doing it. It's become so normal, so automatic, that it runs on a loop in the background of our minds like white noise. But just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's harmless. In fact, it's one of the biggest reasons people stay stuck. When you constantly talk down to yourself, your brain listens. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a joke, a passing thought, or a serious belief. What you say to yourself becomes what you believe about yourself, and what you believe shapes every decision you make. If you keep telling yourself that you're not smart enough, you'll avoid opportunities to grow. If you believe you always mess things up, you'll hesitate to take action. If you think you're not worthy of success, you'll sabotage your own progress, because deep down, you don't think you deserve it. This is how negative self-talk becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You say you can't, so you don't. You say you won't succeed, so you never really try. You say it's impossible, so you don't look for a solution. And every time that voice is proven right, it grows stronger. It's a vicious cycle, and it will keep repeating unless you consciously interrupt it. That voice, it didn't start with you. It was shaped by your experiences, your environment, the things people said to you or around you. Maybe a teacher told you you'd never amount to much. Maybe a parent criticized every move you made. Maybe you failed once and never forgot how it felt. Whatever the origin, it's not your fault that voice exists, but it is your responsibility to stop letting it lead your life. You wouldn't talk to a friend the way you talk to yourself. You wouldn't tell them to give up, that they're a loser, that they'll never figure it out. So why do you allow that kind of language in your own head? You deserve the same compassion, encouragement, and belief that you offer to others. And it starts by becoming aware of the script playing in your mind and deciding intentionally to rewrite it. Changing your self-talk doesn't mean lying to yourself. It means choosing language that supports your growth instead of sabotaging it. Instead of "I always mess things up," say, "I'm learning and mistakes are part of the process." Instead of "I'm not good at this," say, "I'm getting better every day." It sounds simple, but it's powerful because your brain is wired to believe what you repeat. Repetition rewires belief. You can't silence the inner critic overnight, but you can start by noticing when it shows up. Pause. Question it. Ask, is this actually true? Is this helpful? Would I say this to someone I care about? And if the answer is no, then replace it. Say something different. Say something true. Say something true. Say something that moves you forward. If you want real success, you have to believe you're capable of achieving it. And that belief starts with how you speak to yourself when no one else is listening. It's not about fake positivity. It's about choosing thoughts that empower you instead of thoughts that keep you small. You already have enough voices in the world telling you what you can't do. Don't let your own be one of them. Success doesn't begin with action. It begins with identity. When you see yourself as someone who is resilient, capable, and worthy, you act like it. And when you act like it, you get results. But it all starts with the words you use internally. Words shape your mindset. Because every time you do, you're reinforcing the identity of someone who follows through, someone who takes action, someone who doesn't depend on motivation to move forward. This is what separates dreamers from doers. Dreamers think about what they'll do when they feel ready. Doers act now, even when they're unsure, even when it's uncomfortable. And that's what leads to real growth. Because you don't grow from doing what's easy, you grow from doing what's necessary, even when you don't feel like it. If you really want change, if you truly want success, stop waiting for a mood to dictate your movement. Motivation is a bonus, not a requirement. What you need is commitment. What you need is action. And what you need most of all is to start right now, right here, with whatever you have. Don't wait. Move. Because the more you move, the more motivated you become. And that's the real secret. Action fuels motivation, and motivation sustains momentum. But it all begins with a decision. To act first, feel later. Success requires structure, but most people resist routines because they think structure means restriction. They assume routines are boring, rigid, or something only highly organized people do. But the truth is, routines are the secret weapon of the most successful people in the world. Not because they're obsessed with control, but because they understand that freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want, whenever you want. It comes from having systems in place that support your goals and eliminate decision fatigue. When you don't have a routine, your day runs you instead of you running your day. You wake up, you check your phone, you react to notifications, you scramble from one task to the next, and by the end of the day, you feel exhausted but haven't actually made progress on the things that matter. That's not a time problem, it's a structure problem. Without routine, your energy is scattered, your focus is fragmented, your priorities are unclear, and the result is that you keep spinning your wheels without getting anywhere. On the other hand, when you create a solid routine, you eliminate friction. You wake up and know exactly what needs to happen. You don't waste time debating whether or not to do your workout. You've already decided. You don't wonder when you'll work on your goals. You've blocked time for it. Routines take the thinking out of the equation so you can focus your energy on execution. And over time, that consistent execution compounds into real, lasting success. One of the most powerful things a routine gives you is momentum. When your actions are predictable and consistent, your results become predictable and consistent too. It's not about doing massive things every day. It's about doing the right small things over and over until they create massive change. Whether it's journaling for 5 minutes, planning your day the night before, meditating, or reviewing your goals each morning, These habits anchor you. They keep you aligned. They remind you of what you're working toward. The key is to build a routine that works for you, not against you. It doesn't need to look like anyone else's. It doesn't have to start at 5 a.m. or be packed with 20 different steps. Start simple. Pick 2 or 3 things that, if done daily, would move your life forward. Maybe it's 30 minutes of focused work on a passion project. Maybe it's preparing your meals ahead of time so you stay energized. Maybe it's writing down your top 3 priorities every morning. Whatever it is, commit to it. And here's the truth. There will be days when you don't feel like it. There will be mornings when you're tired. Evenings when you're tempted to skip it. That's normal. The point of a routine isn't perfection, it's consistency, showing up even when it's inconvenient, especially when it's inconvenient, because that's when discipline is built, and discipline is what separates the amateurs from the pros, dabblers from the doer. Routines also reduce the mental clutter that comes with decision making. Every time you make a choice, what to wear, when to eat, what to do next, it costs mental energy. That's why successful people create systems that simplify their lives. They automate the basics so their brains are free to focus on what really matters. It's not laziness, it's strategy. Think of your routine as your success infrastructure. Without it, everything becomes harder than it needs to be. With it, you remove resistance, build confidence, and create the kind of daily rhythm that supports your bigger vision. Because let's be real, you're not going to suddenly find time to chase your goals. You're going to have to make time. And that starts with routine. So if you've been winging it, hoping that somehow things will magically fall into place, it's time to stop. It's time to take control. Design a routine that aligns with the life you want, not the one you're settling for. And don't underestimate the power of repetition. What you do daily matters more than what you do occasionally. Your routine is your reality, so make it one that leads somewhere worth going.